Here we are. Hour number 3 on this Friday night already. Let me say one quick thing. Last night, Gerald Celente was on the program again, and he did mention the Trends Journal, and he would like more people to avail themselves of the world's premier news and information magazine. It is awesome, and I hope all of you will at least go take a look. Understand that this magazine is what Time magazine never was supposed to be, but it never could be. There are no commercial ads in Gerald's Trends Journal, just news, fascinating news, which will serve you for many, many years to come. So go to trendsjournal.com. Take a good look around. That's trendsjournal.com. Anytime. It's there all the time. All right. Stefan Verstappen is back with us this hour. We spend time most every week talking about how quickly things are changing, how quickly you're running out of time if you haven't made preparations, and God help all who haven't. I'm sure that most of our listeners here have indeed taken this seriously, and I hope you do. I was looking at that wonderful little alcohol. Well, what do you call it, Stefan? It's a stove, I guess. A little tiny alcohol stove, right? Is that it?
Yes, a stove.
Yeah, I've got to get a couple of those. They're really nice. I saw also a rocket stove for $99, which is another slick thing. Those are very nice. There are a lot of things out there that can really make a huge difference, that don't cost much and don't weigh much. You can lug them around. Go ahead. Welcome back.
Hi, Jeff. Good to be back. I just want to put in my 2 cents worth on Gerald Celente and the Trends Journal. I'm a big fan. I love Gerald. I think he really tells it like it is.
Oh, yeah.
And just an FYI, I have published 4 articles in the Trends Journal in the past.
Oh, so, really? Congratulations.
Yeah.
Not everybody gets in there. That's an accomplishment.
No,
well, you deserve it. That's good.
No, I felt very honored. And the first one he published was my essay on historical cycles. Are we doomed to repeat the past? And, of course, we can see now, that article, that essay, it's on my website now too, but it was first published in the Trends Journal. Uh-huh. And then, of all people, Alex Jones, in one of his shows, pulled out the Trends Journal and leafed through the pages of my article, so that I got like a double dose of glamour.
Oh, good. It's a very provocative piece, and it's perfect fodder for the Trends Journal, and so trendsjournal.com. It's great.
Yeah. And that's why I do what we do now, Jeff, is that based on the theory of historical cycles, we can see all the signs and symptoms and indicators of a declining civilization. Civilizations rise and fall like the seasons. There tend to be 4 stages: spring, summer, fall, winter. And winter is the time of total chaos and collapse. And that's where we're headed. That's where we're going, Jeff. You know it. I know it. Most of your listeners know it. And this is why it is so important that we prepare, and why I've been focusing on getting prepped and getting ready and getting people ready. Folks, you got to take this seriously. I mean, I'm not kidding. Things are going to get really, really ugly. And if you're not prepared, you're not going to make it. I'm sorry. Listen, we know they plan to murder a lot of us. And those that will die first are the ones that have no preparations, that have not faced the reality of the situation. And I know a lot of people can't face it because it's too scary. They're frightened. They're afraid because they don't want to admit to themselves that the people that they voted for, the people that are supposed to be the guardians of our civilization, are hell-bent on murdering billions of people It's hard to wrap your mind around, Jeff. You know what I mean.
It's over the top. I mean, just even here we are talking about this without laughing. Yeah, very hard to wrap your mind around it. It doesn't work. It's not human as we know human. Just isn't.
No, it's anti-human, Jeff. It's absolutely anti-human. And this is also why not only do I, coach people on getting prepped, I also coach people on becoming warriors. It's like Nietzsche wrote, wisdom is a woman who loves only a warrior. And I love that quote because it's so true. If you want to be wise and if you want to be able to face the truth, you got to be tough. You got to be tough. You got to be a warrior. And a warrior will face the truth. So another famous quote. The devil said, beware, the storm is coming. And the warrior replies, I am the storm. So that's what we have to be. We have to be the storm, Jeff, you, me, the listeners out there. We have to be the ones that stand up to this unbelievable evil. This is the battle. This is Ragnarok. This is the battle at the end of time where good and evil face off. And if we fail, if Jeff fails, if I fail, if Gerald Celente fails, then we are looking at 1,000-year dark age. 1,000 years, at least.
Well, and for openers, what did the walking cadaver say? It's going to be a dark winter, promising us. That's what's going to happen. They know.
No, they love to rub our face. We're going to kill you. What you going to do about it? Yeah.
That's not too far up the mark. That's about what they're doing.
Yeah, that's exactly what they're doing. They're psychopaths. That's what they do. They mock you. They humiliate you. They piss on your leg and tell you it's raining, and you're supposed to smile and go, oh, I didn't know rain was so warm and yellow. Come on, people, listen. We got to push back. This is it. You cannot sit back. You cannot sit back on the sidelines. And the first thing you got to do is you got to make yourself like Sun Tzu wrote in his book, The Art of War. The good general first makes his defense impenetrable. So what that means for us is we have to be prepared. We have to get our preps. We need our 6 months of food. We need our communications. We need to have a community back each other up. We need our own medical supplies and medical kits. And we need our own firearms. Now, once we have all that, then our defense is impenetrable. In other words, there are, attempts at starving us out. There are attempts at shutting down the power and freezing us out. There are attempts at intimidating and frightening people will fail once you are prepared because you're not afraid of that. You're ready to deal with it. Cut off the food supply. Okay, fine. I got 6 months worth of food. Plus I know how to hunt and fish. Plus I know how to scavenge wild edibles in the forest. Plus, I just might break into Fauci's house and steal his groceries. Once you're prepared, then you are not afraid. I tell people it's an insurance policy. It's not that you're spending money and it's just going away into nothing. I think we talked about this last week. I said, you got car insurance, you got house insurance. How much do you pay for that? You pay thousands of dollars a month for a house and car insurance. And when have you ever got paid back for it? Me, never. But you invest in food, you invest in medicine, you invest in radios, you invest in materials that you can secure your house with, 4x8 sheets of plywood and bars on the windows and bear bangers on the outside gate. And, you get ready for this stuff. And let's say nothing happens and, for some reason a golden age miraculously appears. Well, then you just eat the food that you bought and, you can sell the extra ammunition.
There's absolutely no way to lose, for God's sakes, by preparing. No, there's no way you can lose by preparing, Jeff. Exactly. So that's why we're talking about this, folks. And, it's extremely important, and especially, and I tell this to people, I said, do you have children? And especially to the men, because look,
this may sound antiquated. This may sound toxic masculinity and patriarchal, but the men were responsible for looking after their families. I know, I hope everybody's not freaking out there. I know the feminists and the social justice warriors have already penciled in my name for harassment. Look, men have to protect their families, and part of protecting your families is, if all this goes down the crapper, which it's already going if you can't see it, I don't know how much more plain it has to be. We are at the end stage of our civilization. It's going down. So men out there, fathers, you got to take the steps. What are you going to do 6 months from now when your children are hungry and they come to you and say, Daddy, how come we haven't eaten in 3 days? What's your answer going to be? Well, because I was busy watching the football game. Is that the answer? Is that what you want to tell them? I was busy watching the Kardashians. I was busy texting and tweeting and going on Facebook and all, instead of getting prepared, instead of getting strong and developing some skills and taking a first aid class and taking some time at a gun range and learning wilderness survival and buying extra food and buying extra medicine and stockpiling it and keeping my house and home safe so that you won't have to talk to your children and explain to them why they're starving. That's where it comes down to. So I'm especially appealing to the men out there. You know, I wrote the book, The Way of the Warrior, because it was my attempt. I saw what happened to our society, Jeff. You know, they've been attacking masculinity for 30 years now.
Oh, yeah.
All men are just
shredding it.
All men are stupid oafs, and they only think with what's between their legs, and they're goofy, and they can't think. You know, they've attacked this and attacked this and attacked this. But listen, they've castrated mankind in this country. They've castrated men, neutered them. And what I see around me are, you know, oh my God, these soy boys and God knows what they are. I can't even tell what sex they are, half of them. And what, you think these people are going to be able to survive what's coming? They're going to be the first to die. Do you think these people will be able to do what it takes to protect their families? They're going to be the first to die. And that's why I wrote the book, The Way of the Warrior. It's not just about martial arts. It's about the attitude, you know, being a man, taking responsibility, being brave. Now listen, being brave doesn't mean you don't feel fear. Even Mark Twain wrote that. He said, a brave man, it's not that a brave man does not feel fear. It's just that he doesn't express fear. And that's the idea. So you can be afraid. Sometimes I get afraid too, Jeff. Sometimes I think, you know, how are we going to get through this? We live in a lunatic asylum, and the people in charge are trying to murder us, you know, and there seems to be no way out.
Right. No,
it's scary. Yeah, it's scary.
Look, even the greatest performers often gets what they call stage fright before going on the stage. It's just common. Yeah. It's a human emotion. There's no logic to it. People are there. They paid money. They just want to hear. You'll deliver. You know, unless you're drunk or on drugs, and you may not. But there's no reason for stage fright. Nothing.
Yeah. Yeah. And even the people that do have stage fright, well, guess what? They get on stage and they do it anyways. So even though
that's right.
Yeah. So even though we may be frightened about the events that are taking place, and a lot of people are too afraid to face the reality of what the powers that be are trying to inflict on the world. Okay, so you're scared, but get on with it. Get prepped, get ready, get tough, get into shape, get your family, start planning what to do. Plan A, plan B, plan C. That's what Stoics do. They think ahead. What could go wrong? What can I do to remedy or overcome the obstacles that I can foresee ahead of me? And that's what we're trying to talk about with the folks tonight too, Jeff.
Very good. You all have another weekend coming up, and I honestly, there's a lot of talk about false flag operations potentially. Could go off at any time. a dirty bomb, a tactical nuke smuggled into some city. We know they're being absolutely wide open with their bringing in of tens of thousands. I don't know how many Afghan refugees are bringing in here. They're not going to be vaccinated. They're going to be brought right in. Allegedly, they're going to be made to eat ivermectin for 2 days, each one of them, which will probably clear out any viral issue they may or may not have. We'd hope. But they're bringing in, I don't know how, what is it, 200,000? It's something crazy. So the same old thing, across the border, across the oceans by planes. They're bringing in Somalis from Africa. They're bringing in Arabs from the Middle East. And I don't mean Afghanis necessarily. We're being invaded by over 35 different countries through the southern border. And lots of Chinese spies, lots of terrorists coming in. No problem. It's easy. It's a piece of cake. It's because the communists who have taken over the alleged government of this country want that to happen. And it is happening. And they don't care one rat's tail about any of us. We're nothing to them. Don't forget it. Nothing.
No. No. And listen, it's a classical military strategy to flood your enemy with refugees before you attack. Because, well, what happens when you get flooded with refugees? There's internal strife. There is division.
Oh, of course.
And then there's a big drain on the resources because now you got to feed them all. And, well, that's why in ancient times they killed surrendering soldiers. They didn't keep them prisoner. They couldn't afford to keep them prisoner. They didn't have the manpower. They didn't have the food. So the defeated armies were, all were lined up and had their throats cut. That was the classic way of dealing with prisoners of war. And so when they flood you with refugees, we're paying for these people, Jeff. And we're paying billions of dollars for them. And they're not going to, this money's not coming back. They're not going to be able to pay all this back in taxes. Most of them, what was it? They found a study there in Sweden of all the Arabs or the Muslims that were refugees that were there, that after 10 years, like 70% of them never had a job. Well, that's great. 70% of these guys are living off of your money, off of welfare. How long do you think a civilization or a society can afford that? On top of the unbelievably insane spending by their own governments,
Sure.
then to have to spend all this money on refugees. And here in Canada, they get 5-star hotel rooms and everything is taken care of. At the same time, there are tens of thousands of native-born Canadians, mostly older people, Jeff, okay? Mostly older people. They hit their 50s and their 60s, and then suddenly they're laid off because nobody wants to hire old people. You never get another job again. If you're over 50, you won't get another job. If you're over 40, you probably won't get another job. And so what happens to these people? They all become homeless. So we got tens of thousands of people that are homeless, living in cardboard boxes. But meanwhile, if you are a Liberian warlord that eats the hearts of your butchered victims.
Oh, they do. They don't even cook them.
They don't even cook them. They eat them raw.
Cannibals.
Welcome on board. Here we go. Yeah. And I don't know if I told you that because I maintain contacts with people in the police force. It's good. You got to have a couple of cop friends and then ask them, what do you guys hear? What's going on? Are you ready to shoot us if we don't turn over our guns? I'd like to know. Bill, are you going to shoot me if I don't surrender my gun? Because that would really affect our friendship. But I remember one of the cops that told me, he says, well, I got to tell you a story. I said, about what? He said, I know 2 immigration officers here in Canada. They both resigned over the same reason. And one of the reasons was, first, they got a message from up on high that says, under no circumstances allow any immigration applications to pass that come from England, Ireland, or Scotland. Nobody from England, Ireland, or Scotland will be allowed to immigrate to Canada. That's from up on high. So basically what they're saying is no white people. Now,
no white people. Now here, all right, I got a bookend for that. they had a picture story yesterday. I've forgotten which site, but it showed the new Miss England and Miss Ireland. You saw it.
Now, personally, I go crazy over a pretty, redhead, green-eyed Irish girl. I think they are the most beautiful creatures in the world. But no, not Miss Ireland. Now, at the same time,
but for our listeners, they're both black ladies, young ladies, black women, and Miss England and Miss Ireland, both. This is PC. It's beyond PC. It's disgusting.
Yeah,
it is.
Well, you get white people used to the idea that they won't exist for much longer.
That's the message. Obviously, no question. That's what is disgusting about it. Not that they aren't pretty. It's just the idea. This has all been co-opted, and it's being run into the ground. Back in a minute with Stefan tonight. A quick question. Are you working on another audio essay? An end times audio essay?
Well, yes and no. See, Jeff, what I do is...
That nails it right down. That end of conversation. Yes and no. All right. That's loud and clear. So, in other words, don't hold your breath, ladies and gentlemen. Don't hold your breath.
Oh, I know, but I'm under a lot of pressure, Jeff. I'm under a lot of pressure because I just finished this online course based on my upcoming book, and I'm trying to finish off the book. It's the complete guide to how to form communities for mutual aid, support, and charity.
Very good. Very good.
And because, listen, you know, what we talk about, you and I, Jeff, are solutions. And part of the solution is being prepared. Part of the solution is becoming a warrior, you know. And another part of the solution is, and I just watched a very good video on it, and it's called Creating Parallel Communities or Parallel Societies During the Times of Tyranny. And that is one way to fight tyranny, is that you create your own society apart from the society you're living in. Because we can't run away from this. There's nowhere to run to. It's everywhere. I got an email from a subscriber in Malaysia, and he told me that they are completely locked down there. You can't go to the store. You can't go anywhere without a vaccine passport. You can't go grocery shopping. Can't get in a cab. Nothing. So they've got that vaccine passport. Everybody's got to have it, or you can't do a damn thing. So there's nowhere to run to. You can't even run to the Far East, for crying out loud. The same program there that is in place here is in place there. So this video says, well, how do you survive tyranny? And of course they quote Solzhenitsyn, which is somebody that I quote quite often too, because read Solzhenitsyn and understand the horror that is coming and how to escape it. Well, how to escape it is to form parallel societies, or in my book, I call them communities, mutual aid communities. We have to work together, Jeff. We have to get together with our neighbors and our family. We have to create separate, to separate ourselves as much as possible from the tyranny. And to do that, we have to do what our great-grandparents did. They formed mutual aid societies before the government came, and before welfare, and before Medicaid, and before Obamacare, and before all that garbage, which has only succeeded in weakening our civilization and making people feeble. Before all of that, people took care of things themselves. Even, before there was a police force, which was instituted in 1851 in New York, the very first police force. But before that, communities would hire somebody. They would hire their own sheriff to police the town. And we can go back to that. We need to go back to that, where we form our own banking systems. They're called lending circles. The Chinese do it. The Hispanics do it. A lot of people all throughout the world to this day still form their own banking systems. You don't have to rely on the banks. We'll make our own bank. You got to get people together, everybody pitches some money, and then you loan it out, you charge an interest rate, you get a percentage of the business, it all comes back into the big kitty, and the people that benefit are the very working people that contribute to it. We need to get our own medical systems. I'm working with a guy in Oregon, a very nice guy, and he's putting together a community of healthcare workers, acupuncturists, Chinese medicine, physiotherapists, herbalists, and you're creating a community where we can go for healthcare because we cannot go to a hospital anymore. The hospitals will kill you. Whatever you do, if you get sick, don't go to a hospital. You're better off going to an alternative health practitioner, paying them cash, whatever, and at least you're going to get healthy. But if you go to a hospital, they are out to kill you. And so you can't rely on
for profit.
For profit, of course, for profit. We have a system here where it is more profitable for you to get sick and die than for you to get cured and stay healthy.
You got it.
So where's the incentive for you to get healthy? There is no incentive for you to get healthy. There's incentive for you to be prescribed addictive drugs and poison by the big pharmaceutical companies so that you slowly die over a period of 10 years while they drain you. I was just talking an old girlfriend of mine, she dumped me and married this other guy, but I liked the guy, because at least he could put up with her for 25 years, which I could never have done, but the guy's got MS, and she recently sent me a message, can you lend me money? We're broke and this and that. Well, because the health care costs for her husband are killing them. So here's just one more example where you work your entire life, right? You work 50 hours a day. You save, you buy the house, you pay the mortgage, you pay the bills, you pay this, you pay that. And then you turn 60 and whoa, now the health bills start to come in and you got to pay them. And before long, you've already got 3 mortgages on the house. You're underwater. And I know she's trying to sell the house now. I can't believe it, because she worked her whole life. Her and her husband, they busted their ass their whole life, and now they're underwater, and they have to sell the house because they need the cash. They need the cash to live. This is the way, this is what we've been set up for, Jeff. It's ridiculous. But I'll be honest with you, I knew this a long time ago. Forget about your pensions. You're never going to collect a pension. It won't be enough.
Let's say this. If you have the opportunity to get your pension or a big part of it out now, even if you take it out and there's a penalty, if it were me, I would take it out no matter what the penalty was and put it to use. If you need to have some counsel and guidance on what to invest in, look at your feet. What's holding your feet up? You can always invest in the land, especially if you can live on it. So think about that.
Yeah. No, I agree with it, Jeff. I wouldn't leave any money in a 401k or whatever they call it now. No. I wouldn't put any money in. They're going to take it. You're not going to get it.
They're already taking it.
It's already gone. Okay, let's face it. It's already gone. They're just kiting checks at this point, right?
That's correct.
Yeah. So, anyways, but this is what we've been subjected to. This is what happens when you've been enslaved by the bankers for the last 100, 200 years. You just work your ass off, and then as soon as your usefulness to society is over, it's like the movie Logan's Run, right? Everybody has to die at 30 because your peak productive years are over. So let's kill you off. But now the peak productive years is, 50. They're trying to kill everybody and anybody over 50. That's what this whole injection nonsense is about. Guess who's dying? It's all the people over 50. Yeah, they want to give it to the 12-year-olds, but the 12-year-olds aren't dying until they get the goddamn injection. Anyways, look, this is what's happened to us. So how do we survive? Well, before the government, communities survived by organizing and forming societies like the mutual aid societies, like the elk Lodge and the Moose Lodge and the Foresters and the Oddfellows and, the Seven Stars of Solomon and, all these different types of mutual aid societies. But what they were able to do for each other was amazing, Jeff. Amazing. People paid one day's wages a year. One day's wages, just one day. And for that, they got complete medical care, dental care. They got unemployment insurance. They got emergency funds if they needed it, if something happened and they needed, $1,000 to pay off. And they would get the $1,000. They would lend it to them. We can do our own banking and our own medical system and our own financial system and our own health care. But we have to learn how to do that. And we don't know how to do it. And we don't know how to structure it. And we don't know how to run it. And that's what I've been working on with this book. I've been researching the hell out of it. It's driving me crazy, Jeff. It's taken me more than 2 years. Normally it takes me...
Well, you better not take too long before you bring it out for sale. I mean, we are running out of time.
Yeah, I'm going to try and get it finished by the end of the month. It's coming along. It's coming along.
Good.
But
Good.
So much to take into consideration, the legal aspects and all the documents and forms and all that. I'm doing it all so that when you get the book, just fill in your name on the documents, register it, and there you go. Boom. Off you go. This is how you do it. This is how you work together. But again, it's part of a larger strategy whereby we must build, again, like this video said, was our parallel societies. We live within this madness, this tyranny, but we also have our own civilization, our own pocket, our own society, our own organization within this society that will meet our needs. And it's like I said during the course, I said the reason that the people that rule this world, and the reason that those of us that are outside are struggling to survive is because the rulers are a part of a mutual aid society. It's a secret society, and it's secret because they're a bunch of fiendish, pedophile, murdering bastards. That's why they're secret. But take away the secrecy, and what you still have is a mutual aid society. They help each other. It's just like the Skull and Bones. They graduate and suddenly, they got interest-free loans for a couple of $1 million if they want to start their business, or they get, shoehorned into a top position, executive position for a multinational corporation, at $2 million a year wages. I mean, they help each other. That's why they're in control, because they've united in their evilness. But nevertheless, they've united to support each other with money and connections and endorsements and financing. And that's why they rule the world. And the rest of us are like, I can't get along with my neighbors because I gotta show that my car is newer than the neighbor's car. Jeff, it's insanity, how we live our lives, chasing after baubles and greedy and stingy. Oh my God, everybody's so stingy these days, and yet they're all hoarders. They got basement full of garbage and a garage full of garbage and their bedrooms full of garbage and everything is full of crap that they've bought over the last 30 years and they've never used it and they've never thrown it out. Could you not have taken, $10 and helped a homeless person? Please. No, of course not. Could you not have taken a couple $100 of all this crap that you've bought and invested it in a lending circle with a group of people so that you can form your own bank? No, they can't do that. No, they have to chase after, it's the shopping channel. They sit there and they buy all this crap. It's all delivered and it immediately goes into a big pile of crap. I can't believe it, Jeff. This is what we've become, but that's what they want us to become. That's why they programmed us to be stingy, selfish, greedy, narcissistic society that we are. Sure. I'll give you another example, Jeff, something that just drives me insane. You see, I lived in China, and I understand the Chinese culture. Now, in Chinese culture, 3 generations live under one roof. The grandparents live.
Right.
The grandparents live there.
Yeah.
And their kids live there, but they work. And then the grandchildren live there. Now, grandma does all the cooking, all the shopping. Grandpa does all the chores around the house. Grandma and grandpa help look after the kids. The parents go, the second generation, they go off to work. And when they come home, food is ready. They don't have to do anything. They don't have to cook. They don't have to clean. They don't have to go shopping. They can take, a breath of fresh air because they've been at work all day. And meanwhile, the kids have been looked after the whole time. No daycare expenses and babysitters and all. They don't have money to spend on babysitters and daycare like we do here. Now, here in North America, we have kids that as soon as they're 18, they got to get out on their own. Okay, so now they got their own apartments, and then they got to pay their own rent and hydro and water and internet and cable and their share of the property taxes and the groceries and all that. So they are spending a lot of money. If they could stay at home, then your expenses are immediately cut in half. I mean, imagine, like here in Canada for a crappy 1-bedroom apartment in a bad part of town will cost you $1,600 a month. But if you could stay with your parents while you're working, not forever, but at least for like 5 years, then you could cut your expenses in half. Instead of paying $1,600 for a crappy apartment, you could pay $400 to have half a house.
Yeah, well, that's happening all over the place, as you know, and millennials are staying home. Heck, the Gen Xers are still living at home, some of them. But this is common practice now, not by means of tradition or honor. It's sheer necessity.
Yeah,
they can't cut it.
Yeah,
so,
and everybody feels really guilty about it, and they feel like they're failures and all that. But that's not it at all. This was tradition among human beings as far back as you can go. The grandparents would do all the cooking and the cleaning, and their children would do all the hard labor, and the grandchildren would be looked after. But people can't, people got to get along with each other. And but anyway, that's one example of a mutual aid society. At least the families can work together.
I have a vision of small neighborhoods. I don't know, 10, 15 houses. People get together, and everyone is assigned different jobs, different responsibilities. They have a neighborhood watch that is constantly on the alert. And if there's something that happens, some kind of an alarm can be sent to everyone, and they arm themselves, and they come to the point of problem, and they bring their weapons, and they act together, and that's one thing that has to happen. You're not going to get any help from the police here very soon. You're going to have to be your own police.
Yeah. Well, listen, I want to know how you got a copy of my book. Because you just explained exactly. You just explained exactly my last chapter that I've been finishing off. And I'm talking about Neighborhood Watch that turns into a neighborhood defense program, which, again, I'm recommending, just like you said, 10, 15 families. You pool your money and you form a buying group, so you all buy your groceries together. You get a wholesaler's license, and now you've just saved yourself 40% of your expenses. True. And you work together, and you form a homeschooling co-op. Now everybody's kids has a safe, decent place to get an education where they're not programmed by the government. And
absolutely.
You work together, you form a neighborhood watch committee, you get walkie-talkies, you set up patrols, you keep an eye out, everybody has a firearm, and then if somebody says, listen, there's 10, 15 strange characters out in front of Bob's house, well, then everybody comes to Bob's house and they bring their shotgun. That's how we need to do it. And I'm surprised, Jeff. It's like you're reading my mind here, because honest to God, I just finished that chapter. It's called Survivalist Communities. And it's what I call a decentralized community. In other words, everybody's not living on a bunker or on a ranch or something like that. No, everybody lives in their own home. It's just that you get to know who your neighbors are, and you get an understanding that if you're in trouble, I will grab my shotgun and I'll come to your house. And if I'm in trouble, you grab your shotgun and you come to my house. Or if your kids are sick, I'll get my medical kit and I'll come to your house because I got extra antibiotics. And if my kids are hungry and you got some extra food, you come to my house and bring me a pot of spaghetti. This is how we look after each other. And it can be done very easily, very simply by just having 10, 15 families. All the people that live on your street or your cul-de-sac or your crescent.
You know what the only problem is? Well, not the only problem, but one of the big problems is half of them will be vaxxed and half of them won't be.
I know, and this is the problem.
I hope you have another chapter for that one.
Somebody put me in touch with another guy who was also talking about that, and he's approaching it from a psychological perspective, trying to teach people how to get along despite your ideological differences, which is so ridiculous. Ideological, like everybody's a goddamn philosopher, Right. They got to fight for their opinion. Oh, yeah, well, if you don't believe me, okay, drop it. Again, but this is part of the ego, the narcissism that everybody's been indoctrinated with. Oh, you're so special and your every thought is a jewel of wisdom. Oh, come on, guys. Nobody's thoughts are a jewel of wisdom. Anyways, that is the problem, Jeff. That is the problem. I know what to do, okay? But we don't have 100 years. And I don't have $1 trillion. Because it's been 100 years and several $1 trillion that the powers that be have spent to indoctrinate the people to the level of incompetence and self-centeredness that we have today. It took them 100 years to get here. Yeah. I know what to do to reverse it, but I don't have the time or the money. But here's one thing that you can do, and this is a realization I came to the other day. And in addition to forming these parallel communities, mutual aid societies, listen, get the people that you can. If somebody's not vaxxed or whatever, that's up to them. If they don't want to join, okay, then, well, you're on your own then. This is what I'm offering. I'm offering a community of mutual aid and mutual support so that when things get bad, that we can work together to make things better. And if whatever your political beliefs prevents you from joining in on that, fine, have a nice life, and we'll see you down the road. But the other thing...
Long way down the road.
A long way down the road, in the next life down the road. But the other thing I was talking about and thinking about too is, one of the other things that the evil powers that be have done is they've sucked our culture and tradition away from us. So one way to fight...
They've done that, and they've also removed most of the joy of living.
Yes.
They've taken most of that away in the last 2 years.
Yes. So here's my last suggestion. We need to create our own culture. We need to come up with our own stories, our own art, our own music, our own poetry, and we need to spread the joy as much as we can. So we can, invite the neighbors over to the backyard for a barbecue and call it poetry night or story night. Everybody can tell the story of their history, of their background, of their ancestors. We need to, bring back culture and tradition that is ours, not
Oh, I couldn't agree more. Yeah, we've lost so much. Indeed. We've lost it. It's been taken from us, but we have not been good stewards of what we had. We should have been better. We should have been on alert. We should have fought for it. We should never have allowed this corruption, this criminality. We shouldn't have allowed it, but we did somehow. Not our fault. I don't blame us, because we've been weaned off of reality by screen addictions and all manner of misdirection and diversion. So it's a very complicated issue. At any rate, congratulations. I'm glad you're close to the end of the book. Will this be an electronic book, or are you going to have it both ways?
Both ways, yeah.
Okay. All right, very good. All right, Stefan, thank you. You take care of yourself. Keep up the good work.
You too, Jeff, and talk next.
Okay.
Are we going to talk next Friday? Yeah, next Friday,
yeah.
right.
Okay, very good. All right,
Good night, Jeff.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.